let's have a look at that first, the turf contest then, in a little bit more detail. So this is the turf sprints. Coburn is 6-4, Bradsel's 3-1, Motorious is 15-2, Believing 8-1, Big Ev's 8-1, Star of Mystery 14-1, 16s and bigger the remainder. Bradsell unfinished business there, right? Did he go and come back? Is that right?
He went last year. He was going to run in the sprint, and Connections scratched him ahead of being scratched by the vet because they didn't want to be the only European runner who was vet scratched. And then it turns out that actually quite a few became vet scratch. So they preempted the vet scratch, but it turned out to be correct.
Well, it did, because he was off.
Yeah, that he was injured, and he's came back and has done quite a lot in 2 months.
Let's have a look at the Nunthorpe, because this would be a key bit of form going into it. This was I thought he was mega impressive this day. It's not, almost a coming of age performance, even though he'd maybe come of age previously. But this was, I thought, very impressive. He seemed an even better horse this year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that could have helped is having the long enforced break off just helped him grow up and strengthen up. He's got a lot of speed, which is always going to suit him, and he did this literally off the back of a egg and spoon race in France. And as we all know, the sprinters in France right now aren't exactly difficult to beat, and they took him there and he had a nice prep, and then less than 3 weeks later, they brought him to York, and he was uber impressive, and then they backed him up quite quickly, and they went and won the Flying Five. I was really hopeful, though, that everything that Archie Watson was saying, that if the ground's bad, we're not going to go to Longchamp, and I'm guessing that Victorious Racing Connections we're going to Longchamp, because everything he said in the build-up to it was, we're not going to run, we don't want to leave the Breeders' Cup in Paris. I think they left the Breeders' Cup in Paris. He
was beaten a length and a half that day by Makarova, who, had form behind him, behind Believing, and yet the ground just really seemed to turn that around. Perhaps that was the key for Ed Walker's horse. Can you see any of those who finished in behind, Big Ev's, Frosted Dawn, Believing, Stardust, etc., reversing any of that form?
Yeah.
Go
on. Any of them. Bradsell's not on the list.
Really? That negative? I'm getting that opinion.
He's also
get off the fence.
He's also drawn 12. He's never gone around a turn officially in his life. He's drawn 12. Okay. I just hope Holly is holding on, because that running rail comes up real quick, and I just hope she don't go straight through it. Any
view, Steve, on these the Brits we're touching on?
Yeah, Big Ev's, I think. You saw that he was bang up against, well, he wasn't. He was this side of the stand side, which all of the York Ebor meeting, you didn't really want to be there. I thought the smaller group on the far side played very much into Bradsell's hands that day. The fact that Big Ev's has been over there and won last year, albeit on a different track, I think he's got the pace as well to do this. I quite like Big Ev's. I think it 10-1. If you chuck out that Nunthorpe run, which I think you can do. And I know Believing finished second, having raced in a similar lane, but he came from a long way back, like Believing likes to do. And Big Ev's was the one up there on the unfavoured surface. So I think he's very interesting at 10-1, and he can do it again for Mick Appleby, hopefully. And he comes there fresh as well. He hasn't run since the Nunthorpe. I think that's a big plus as well.
And yet, the Americans have dominated this race. So are we missing the obvious? Other than glass slippers, I don't think a European's won it in the last 10. And no. They've got Coburn here, who's well. How do you assess what he's achieved, Rachel?
He's achieved enough that he will realistically potentially be the champion male sprinter, which is very rare for a turf horse, and the champion turf horse, which is very rare for a sprinter. He is that good.
Oh, so, okay, sorry. So come back to that. So
he's in the running to be both male sprinter.
Male sprinter across
yes.
all surfaces.
We don't have a male turf sprinter. We just have a male sprinter.
Okay.
And male turf horse, which a sprinter has never been the male turf horse. Obviously, this depends on what the likes of your Carl Spacklers, etc., do in other races of this series, but he was a good dirt sprinter. Once Steve Asmussen moved him to the turf, he has been nigh unbeatable. He's been undefeated this season. The race we just saw was him winning at Kentucky Downs in the turf sprint. He did that by 3.5 lengths. He's a turf sprinter who doesn't just win. He destroys his fields by more than 2 lengths. In a 5.5 furlong race, that's fast. He set a North American record for 5.5 furlongs 2 starts ago. He clicked under a minute for 5.5 furlongs, and now he's dropping back to 5, but he's 2 for 2 over this particular trip, and that was at Lone Star, and Lone Star is a tight track like Del Mar, so this is absolutely in his wheelhouse. And 3 starts ago, he won from stall 13 of 14 at Churchill, so stall 9, absolutely fine. Cogburn wins this, full stop.
Really? Okay, that's.
Has he only got one eye, Coburn?
Go on. What's this? It's hang on. Is this Magnificent Seven or something like that?
No, Rooster Coburn, True Grit.
True Grit. Sorry. Okay. I knew it was some sort of way. I knew it was going somewhere there.
It would have been nice. Well, it wouldn't have been nice for Cogburn if he only had one eye, obviously. But
he has 2.
Yeah,
definitely has 2.
He beat Cardham, didn't he, last time out? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Cardham's got 2 ways of running. That's the problem. You don't know which one turned up last time, but there is a bit of collateral with the British.
Quickly on Motorious, not good enough?
He's the local horse, so he'll run well, but in the context of this, no.
OK. There you go. A pretty strong opinion from Rachel on that one, that the favourite is the one to be with for Irene Ortiz and Steve Asmussen.
It's as if we've been gone forever, but soon it'll feel like we've never been away.